Thank you, Rebecca and June. Next up, we have a panel to hear from some of the women entrepreneurs. These are young women, ladies who lead the companies from inside, making a change and bringing about lots of new programs. So we have Roberta LaPorte. She is CEO, founder of RAL Associates, and she's going to be leading and moderating a panel with Beth Styles, Neerja Raman, and Letha McLaren. Thank you.
Are we set?
We are.
Yes. Wait, thank you very much. Well, welcome, and welcome to this panel. We have some really amazing women here, and today we're going to be talking about entrepreneurs or intrapreneurs. And these are on the panel. These are all women who have been in various roles throughout their careers and have been able to very effectively create and innovate and create change within the organizations that they've been within. So how we're going to start is I'm going to ask each of you, just tell us briefly about your current role, and I want to talk a little bit more later about the many roles you've had, but tell us a little bit about your current role, and did you go into it thinking that you were going to be an entrepreneur, or did it sort of evolve? I'm going to start with Neerja.
So currently I'm a researcher, distinguished scholar at Stanford University. And my role is to do research on social entrepreneurships, and I've been studying barriers and enablers for social entrepreneurship. And I actually very intentionally went into that role because I was a director at HP Labs for 25 years, and our research was in imaging. And I began to feel that technology could fuel change that was positive for both society and the businesses. And so it was a really concerted effort on my part as to why is it that that's not happening more? Why are we still having a crash? You know, capitalism has gone, haywire. Why are we still doing that when we have the capacity? So I wanted to study the barriers and enablers. And I felt like I had an advantage because at HP Labs, we started several businesses in imaging. All the multimedia businesses took the change from printing into imaging. And I kind of felt that I had the business background, the technology background. And as a woman, of course, you're always selling yourself, you're not, so you have to be out there selling your ideas. And so I felt like a lot of people coming into the social space, they were either activists or they were technologists or they were business people, and I could sort of coach and mentor and at the same time research the space. And that's what I've been doing.
Great, thank you very much. Beth, tell us about what you do.
I'm the Senior Director of Client Success, Customer Success at Biba Systems. It's a little startup. We're about, actually a month yesterday from launch. And so we're really excited about rolling out. I'm responsible from the first touch for the user. We have a freemium model, so first touch all the way through retention. So I've been there a month. I've actually worked with the CEO. This is our 6th company that I've worked with him, so I knew exactly what I was going to get into, and yes, we're definitely entrepreneurial.
Right, so it was a known quantity for you going in, right?
Absolutely,
yes.
Get ready.
Right, you're right. We're going to touch a little bit more about some of your other background, some of the other things you've done. Letha, tell us about what you do.
I'm the Vice President of Product Management for a company, iControl Networks. We do a broadband home management software platform inside the home. I actually came to iControl with a product management background, but also a very more of an expert field approach. When I got pulled into iControl Networks, my scope changed to be much broader. And then over the course, we actually acquired a company, and I would say that my main entrepreneurial type things that we're doing at the moment is looking at the two organizations. They're both about equally sized companies, bringing those together and making sure that my team is building a set of products that can facilitate both markets, but also extract the common processes and practices between the two groups to try to not only merge into one culture as an organization, but to also increase efficiency and to just build a better product to market.
So when you came into that role, did you believe that you were going to be innovating and you were going to be acting in an entrepreneurial role, or did it evolve over time?
I think it evolved over time, specifically in regards to the merger that occurred, because the scope of what we did in an entrepreneurial way changed, because not only did we have to deal with just one product to market and the product management daily responsibilities around that, but now we have to take the two organizations and focus on making sure that we're doing things in a common strategic way.
Great, thank you. So I want to turn to Neerja now. She's had an amazing career, so I wanted to just get a little bit more background from you, because you've worked in a lot of different settings. You've gone from academic to corporate to startup and now back to academic. And we'd just like to have you comment a little bit about the changes you've seen in all those environments and in the workplace, and how has that provided maybe more opportunity now for innovation?
That's actually, it's interesting you asked that, because
it was your idea to ask that question.
But I didn't actually know it was what. Threw it out about a week ago.
Oh, yeah.
That's a lifetime ago. Yeah. So it's interesting because if I was to think about a key thing and how I would summarize the change, because I think the change is, in some ways it's changed a lot, in some ways hasn't. When I first started in the 70s in the Silicon Valley, Silicon Valley was going through its first round of innovation, from the semiconductors to the chip. And people used to quote Alan Kay a lot, and they used to say, if you want to predict the future, you invent it. That was the common thing, which meant that, you have to innovate and you have to be out there with your product. And I thought it was a real catchy way of seeing it. And just a few weeks ago, I was at Stanford at one of the conferences, and Tim O'Reilly was giving the keynote, and he says, the future is here today, it's just not everywhere. And I think that is really insightful in the state of technology and innovation. One of the things that software, internet, and then now social media has wrought is that all kinds of innovation that's happening all over the world globally is now visible to you. It's just not visible to everybody. And what that translates to is it isn't enough to just have the new product. It used to be, don't do a new feature, do a new product. It isn't just enough to do a new product. You have to do it faster, because it gets out there faster. And I think it's much more important to collaborate now, because the chances are that there are other bright people who are thinking or noodling around that same idea, and the more you can get inputs, you would have a bigger impact. So you could not, I don't think, get away with doing a really narrow innovation today. And I think at Stanford, you see things like that. The research center where I work, for instance, is started, and Stanford started this because companies as well as universities are guilty of having silos. So people get very vertical, so innovation happens within a vertical space. And research centers like ours address that by requiring at least 3 different disciplines to participate in an innovation process. And when I was at HP Labs, the whole imaging field grew out of, because it's a combination of hardware, firmware, software, and then understanding the user space. So real innovation is at the intersection of disciplines. So I think collaboration, speed, those kind of things become more important. And technology, I think technology is a game changer. So ride the curve, like right now, when I first started, it was the software. I got on the boat, you might say, in the software revolution. Then it was networking revolution. And now it's the social media. Whatever it is, you ride whatever the technology is. And I also want to call myself a changepreneur, rather than so it's entrepreneur, intrapreneur, and my role at Stanford and actually in business in general is to be a changepreneur, because that's where the innovation is. It's in the change.
Right.
So
I'm curious, of all the environments you've been in, which ones have you enjoyed the most?
I actually love my work, so I pretty much make sure that I'm having a good time wherever I am.
Are.
And every employer of mine, so I had like 5 or 6 jobs before I landed at HP. And I loved it at HP, and I had 2 major roles. We were just starting to automate instruments. So if you've heard about measurements in Olympics, we did the innovation in that space, for instance, detecting really small quantities of chemicals. And then I was at labs, where we made the change from printing to the imaging businesses. And it's been, I think that's maybe an important lesson for women. We can actually make the environment we want to be in, that if you just know what you want to do and do it with passion, you can create that environment. And I'm having a good time at Stanford, too.
Good. That's important, to have a good time.
Yeah.
And that's actually a good segue into a question I wanted to ask Beth. When we were sort of prepping for this, you commented that, excuse me, being open to opportunities and being bold and following your passion has not only fostered innovation at various points along the way in your career, but has helped you thrive and be successful. Can you talk a little bit more about what that means?
Well, you know, I've just started my third profession in this role, because I started in curriculum development on the training side because I really wanted to help people use their tools that they had, and nonprofits were given all these Apple computers and they didn't know what to do with a computer, and I really loved helping people utilize that. And then I was doing that for a while and realized, well, gosh, all this software that they're building is just, it's not very good, you know, and I have to teach people about it. Well, what if I went on the other side of things and I helped them decide, you know, in the product management, decide what should go into things? Then it's easy to teach it. And so I did that for 10 years, and now it's kind of like, well, what if now I could go out and advocate for the customer and really make them successful? And you know, I've had the fortune to really work with some really good people, and I just take the risk. You know, Maya was talking about how important risk is, and just being open to things changing, and you know, being passionate and asking why not do those different things, and not really be so tight to just like, no, I'm in my boundary, I have to stay doing those things. So I really think that being able to be open and taking those risks has helped me, and I love it all. I love the customer, I love the strategy, I love teaching people, so it's been a good career.
Yeah, absolutely. You had a great career, but I agree with you. It's important to try and get tuned into what you love to do and what gets you excited to get up every morning and go to work and to follow what you're passionate about. Mm-hmm. And so that generally will put you in a position where you can not only be successful but thrive, which it sounds like you've done. So great. So Letha, you had, well, when we were prepping for this, you said that you've been an executive now in a number of emerging market companies. And so I'm curious about how you've been able to consistently innovate within those organizations to help them scale and grow and be successful.
Sure. So like Beth, I have a passion around product management, bringing products to the customer. In my current role, and actually in pretty much all of my history of my expertise, is through channels. So I'm not reaching the end customer, but I'm going through a service provider to reach the customer. So it's slightly different in how you build out the product set. But in an emerging market, and so my experience in the energy management space, where energy management, the definition of what residential customers view as what energy management is, as well as in the current space that I'm in, which is home management, home automation, right, and home security. And again, it's a very, while home security has been around for a long time, it's a very emerging market in that what people are coming to expect to be connected to their homes and being able to reach into their homes and see what's going on and check in on their family and things like that. So I think the challenges and what I try to influence within my organization is to, like you mentioned, an emerging market is staying fast, right? Getting to market fast and being able to keep up with the change that occurs in the space. Because as the emerging market, there's so many changes that occur so quickly that you have to be able to be agile enough to navigate through that and to be able to respond, because maybe it evolves this way and you had built it to evolve this way. You need to be able to switch pretty quickly. And then kind of the flip side of that challenge is because change is occurring so rapidly, you have to be able to say no a lot, right? Because otherwise it's just there's a lot of confusion about how the market might evolve, right? And so we spend a lot of time talking with customers and evaluating how people are using the products and making sure that we're building the right set of things and staying clear of the things that are kind of hype, right, or just people are kind of talking about, but it's not really going to be the mass market approach to solving problems. So we spend a lot of time trying to focus on those two things to keep up with the market.
So you seem to have a pretty good sense of, what are kind of the ingredients for success when you go into an organization. So for the women, the potential entrepreneurs in the audience, and I'll ask this if it could be open to anybody. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. How do you vet that if you're evaluating a new position or an opportunity in a company, how do you evaluate and decide, is this the right environment for me? Is this environment going to be supportive and conducive to me innovating and creating change and being an entrepreneur? Are there things that you should be looking for?
From my experience, as long as you have I spent a lot of time even evaluating when I came to iControl, is that the right organization for me?
Right.
I moved from Atlanta, so it was a big move for my family to come from the South and move to the West Coast. So I wanted to make sure that it was a fit for me and my family. And so I spent a lot of time making sure that that I have a passion around product management. I have a passion around getting at the customer requirements and solving customer problems. So I spent a lot of time in the organization making sure that that organization had the same philosophy, that they wanted to also solve customer problems, that they didn't want to just build something that was cool that couldn't get sold, or so I wanted to make sure that was aligned with me. So I think if you have a passion and you match the organization, the way that the organization, either products they've brought to market in the past, take a look at that, or just talk when you're talking to people, make sure that they have the same values. around solving problems. I think that's an important part of it.
Great. Beth or Neerja, what do you think? How do you evaluate
actually,
environment?
Maybe I'll give a slightly different and controversial point of view, and I'll say as a woman, and this comes from my experience. Remember, I've been in the Valley for almost 35 years, and when I first started, I would say failure is not an option. If you've got a passion for doing some innovation, do it, and I'll give you my example. For instance, when I started as software. My background is software and chemical analysis. And I essentially created my job, which was at HP doing instrument automation. I felt that instrument automation was going to be the next big thing. These are big things that you'd require a PhD to work. And everybody there was basically a hardware person. There were no software people, and the people I hired. And in fact, all our products were sold, and my team was always really small because they couldn't charge for software. This is the time when you paid for the big mass specs. I couldn't patent anything. I did my first search algorithm, and software was not patentable. This is, remember, before Microsoft came. And yet, we eventually went into a big, roaring business. Our business went from a loss leader in HP to #1 in the market in instrumentation and automation. And I can't say that, I kept going up, which helped in the software, which helped others, but I didn't really have anybody that, even at labs, I wasn't sure that I got that passion for it. They just tolerated you, right? They hired me because I would bring the change into the organization. So I would just say, you need the support. Find girlfriends to support you. Get it. It doesn't have to come from work. You just kind of have to get the support you need to do what you think needs to be done. Stick to your guns and do it, And I think that a lot of us wouldn't be in the position. Maybe today it's different. I don't know that, well, maybe not in some ways. But if you believe in it, get the support from wherever you get it. Yeah, you need support. I'm not saying you don't need support, but it doesn't have to come from the organization.
From the work environment.
Yeah. You just need to have that confidence in yourself and what you believe in and what you do. So I just thought I'd throw that out there, see how many people relate to that.
Great. What do you think? You've had lots of different jobs, right? So how do you,
I've had lots of different jobs, and some of them didn't work.
The way you thought they were going to.
Yeah. I think, the interview process is like you're dating, and nobody is willing to kind of put on the table,
right?
This is really what's going on.
What it's going to be like when you get married, right?
Right. Yeah. You don't know until you get hired, and then you're like, oh, I forgot to tell you all this stuff.
Right. I had somebody bring me aside, the first week. Okay, you're here, right? Okay, let me tell you everything that's going on with the company.
Yeah.
Oh no! Why didn't you tell me that earlier?
That's a good point.
So I really feel the best ways that I've identified some of these companies is really just be myself when I go into these interview process. And it does help to have LinkedIn and to create a network and to find other people and to get support and to get somebody else's opinion. Like, tell me if I'm crazy because I want to go to this place. Okay, tell me the pros, tell me the cons. And somebody that can reflect out, maybe not at the company, but somebody that can reflect, oh, that sounds like you would really like it, or I notice that you're really talking passionately about that, or you like what the problem is that you're trying to solve. But getting that feedback, I think, from other people really helps.
And with LinkedIn and other opportunities online, I mean, there's so many ways now to tap into people who are employees or have former employees, so you can get a varied sense of what it's like to be there.
Sure.
Whether it's going to be a right environment for you.
Yep.
Yep.
I actually think that it also helps as women once we get into a situation to do things that institutionally would bring some of these things out. And at least I know that in the interview process when we first started hiring, I made it a requirement that you had to, because it used to be you went and hired people from around you who were always brilliant, but the person around you may not be a woman, for instance. So you should just say, okay, you have to hire the best person for the job, but maybe you have to cast your net wider.
Right.
So I feel that once you're in a position of having some influence, we should look at procedural and institutional things that we can do. Another one was hiring for high-level positions in HP. They never used to post it, so you wouldn't find out, so you couldn't apply. So look for procedural things, and then you'll find you get the support, because it may not be right next to you. It might be a little bit further away.
Right. It's good advice. So just before we wrap up here, just switching gears a little bit. So with everything that everybody has going on, family, work, community, whatever else you're involved in. So I'd like each of you to share what's a personal strategy that you use to try and find some balance between work and outside of work. Anybody who would like to tackle that question?
Well, I think just starting at a new company, I used to be the type of person that, you had to be at work all the time, and I would be usually one of the first and one of the last to go home, and I'm commute, and I'll do all kinds of crazy things. But this time I really decided that, and I fortunately have the support of the CEO, that I was gonna work from home a couple of days and not have that commute. And it was hard at first, but just sticking with it a couple of weeks really is like, oh no, this really makes a lot of sense. And I noticed that I'm doing things smarter. I don't have as much stress. And I can really say, no, I'm gonna work from home, and I'm gonna go to the gym that time that I would commute, and taking care of myself. But being able to set those boundaries and doing it's something a little different yourself. It's okay to change a little bit and to have the strength to do that, and the discipline. You're talking about discipline, how important it is at the job, but it's also for you
Absolutely.
to do it as well, to include,
Yeah, take care of yourself. Yeah.
I agree with Beth. I think it's all about self-discipline. I actually find that doing many things helps me and I think I heard this the other day, that women obsess. So I'll tell you one thing that I would do is, so I had 3 kids, a husband who was in a startup, and I had a full-time job always. So I make a list of all the things I have to do. And it doesn't matter, I don't stop. I keep making the list, okay? Okay, keep making it till you get it out of your system. It doesn't matter what it is. And then at 10, number it. 10, draw a line. Everything below that, prioritize it, isn't gonna happen. From 3 to 10, outsource it and do the top 3.
That's an interesting philosophy.
And I tell you, it really works because it's about your own discipline to focus on what you wanna do. And I actually find that software bugs get solved in my sleep. My children's problems disappear when I just say, yes, let's have a nice meal. The gardener, if he doesn't mow the lawn, it really doesn't matter. If you don't mow the lawn, it doesn't really matter. If you do your top 3 with full attention, it'll work.
I love that. Yes, I'm going to adopt that. That's great. I'm going to make my list and see where 3 through 10 when I get home. So
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Letha, what about you? What are some of your personal strategies for trying to keep it all together?
I spend too much time working, so I struggle with it a lot. But my kind of philosophy is I try to have as much energy at home as I have at work. So I dedicate a lot of energy at work, and I passion around solving problems and that. And when I get home, I try not to turn it off and relax. I try to spend as much of that energy and have the same amount of passion and energy around it. So we are a play hard, work hard kind of family. So if when we get home we're either riding our bikes or go on vacations, or on the weekend we go camping or whatever. So we just spend a lot of time making sure that the time that we do have together is a very quality time, not watching TV or sitting back and doing that kind of stuff.
Excellent, thank you. Well, we are out of time, so I'd like to thank Letha and Beth and Neerja for your great input and suggestions. I hope you all got some great information from this and were all inspired. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.